If you were to look at Britain on a map today, you might think its borders are confined to the British Isles. But what if I told you that the British government still holds power over 14 overseas territories scattered across the globe? From Gibraltar at the entrance of the Mediterranean to the Falkland Islands in the South Atlantic. These are the last remnants of a once mighty empire. How did a small island nation come to dominate a quarter of the globe's landmass and rule nearly a third of the world's population? This is not just a story of conquest. It's a tale of ambition, exploration, and the complex legacy of colonialism. What drives a nation to expand its reach across oceans? Is it the thirst for power, wealth, or something deeper? The foundations of the British Empire were laid long before Britain even existed as a unified state. The Kingdom of England, with its well-developed economy and military prowess, began to assert control over smaller kingdoms in Wales and parts of Ireland. But what about Scotland? A fiercely independent nation, Scotland resisted invasions from its southern neighbor. By the early 17th century, Queen Elizabeth I issued commissions to adventurers like Sir Francis Drake, urging them to explore and colonize unclaimed territories. Yet these early ventures often ended in failure. The first English colony in North America, Roanoke Island, mysteriously vanished. What does this tell us about the risks of exploration? Queen Elizabeth I also granted royal charters to joint stock companies, such as the Levant Company and the East India Company, monopolizing trade routes. When Elizabeth died in 1603, the throne passed to James VI of Scotland, uniting the crowns but keeping the kingdoms distinct. James sought to build on Elizabeth's legacy, establishing colonies governed under various structures: crown colonies, charter colonies, and proprietary colonies. Each had its own governance style, but as time passed, many proprietary colonies struggled and transitioned to crown colonies. What does this shift reveal about the challenges of colonial governance? An often overlooked aspect of England's expansion was the plantation of Ulster, where Protestant settlers from Scotland and England were transported to Northern Ireland. This model of organized colonization would later influence English colonial efforts in the New World. As the 1600s progressed, England expanded its colonies in North America and the Caribbean. Some were new ventures, while others were seized from rival powers, like New York from the Dutch in 1665. What drives nations to claim land from others? Is it merely a quest for territory, or is there a deeper psychological need for dominance? England developed extensive trading networks in Africa and the East Indies, establishing fortified trading posts. The Royal African Company, founded in 1660, became a key player in the transatlantic slave trade. Scotland, envious of England's success, attempted its own colonial ventures, but most ended in failure. The Darien Scheme of 1698 aimed to control trade routes in Panama, but resulted in disaster. What does the failure of the Darien Scheme tell us about the risks of colonial ambition? By the turn of the 18th century, England and Scotland remained independent kingdoms. The Glorious Revolution of 1688 shifted the political landscape, leading to the Acts of Union in 1707, which united the two kingdoms into Great Britain. As Britain engaged in wars with European powers, it fought not only on the continent, but also to protect its colonial interests. The War of the Spanish Succession ended with territorial gains in North America and the Mediterranean. How do wars shape the destiny of nations? Are they merely conflicts over land, or do they reflect deeper ideological battles? The British East India Company, while not technically part of the empire, pursued its colonial interests aggressively. The Battle of Plassey in 1757 marked a turning point, allowing the British to dominate Bengal and expand their influence across India. As conflicts like the 7 Years' War unfolded, Britain gained further territorial concessions, solidifying its status as a maritime power. What does the rise of the East India Company reveal about the intersection of commerce and imperialism? However, Britain's expansion came at a cost. Tensions with the American colonies escalated due to taxation without representation, leading to the American Revolution. The loss of the colonies in 1783 marked a significant turning point for the empire. What does this loss signify for a nation that once prided itself on its global dominance? After losing America, Britain shifted its colonial focus to Asia and the Pacific. Explorers like Captain James Cook mapped vast territories, claiming lands in the name of Britain. Australia became a penal settlement, while the fur trade expanded in North America. What drives nations to explore uncharted territories? Is it merely the pursuit of wealth, or is there a deeper desire for knowledge and understanding? The Napoleonic Wars challenged Britain's dominance, but victories like the Battle of Trafalgar in 1805 secured British naval supremacy for decades. The end of the wars in 1815 saw Britain expand its territories further, adding islands and colonies to its empire. The Industrial Revolution shifted Britain's economic focus, leading to the abolition of the slave trade in 1807. However, it would take another 27 years for slavery itself to be abolished. What does this shift in economic focus reveal about the moral complexities of imperialism? The period from 1815 to 1914 is often referred to as Britain's imperial century. The British East India Company expanded its interests across Asia, while the Opium Wars allowed Britain to seize control of Hong Kong and Shanghai. What does the expansion of the empire during this period tell us about the motivations behind imperialism? The Sepoy Rebellion of 1857 challenged British control in India, leading to the dissolution of the East India Company and direct British rule. India became the jewel in the crown of the empire. The 19th century also saw the emergence of the Great Game, a geopolitical struggle between Britain and Russia for influence in Central Asia. The Crimean War, 1854 to 1856, was a significant conflict that reaffirmed British dominance. How do geopolitical struggles shape the course of history? The late 19th century witnessed the scramble for Africa, where Britain expanded its control over vast territories. The opening of the Suez Canal in 1869 further solidified Britain's strategic position. What drives nations to colonize entire continents? Is it merely a quest for resources, or is there a deeper psychological need for dominance? As the 20th century dawned, Britain's colonies began to seek independence. Canada, Australia, and New Zealand gained self-governance, while Ireland's quest for independence culminated in 1921. What does the wave of independence movements signify for the legacy of colonialism? During the World Wars, Britain relied heavily on its colonies for resources and military support. Over 2.5 million men from the empire served in World War I, but the cost of victory was immense. How do global conflicts reshape national identities and power dynamics? The end of the British Empire came gradually, with many colonies gaining independence in the mid-20th century. The handover of Hong Kong to China in 1997 marked a significant moment in history. What does the legacy of the British Empire look like today? The legacy of the British Empire is complex. The English language is the most widely spoken in the world, and British culture continues to influence global practices. How do we reconcile the achievements of the empire with its darker aspects? Modern Britain can be seen as a microcosm of the empire, with people from various races, nationalities, and cultures coexisting. As we reflect on this history, we must ask ourselves, what lessons can we learn from the past? How do we move forward in a world shaped by imperial legacies?